And that's when I said, "Oh, Grandma, that's how you died." Okay.
Funny every time. Hey, welcome to the Chicken Coop Podcast. I'm my name is Adrian, and I'm joined by
Mick,
Angela,
Bernard,
and me, Alex.
And I'm joined by these very special people on a very special day to discuss a very special topic. Near and dear to all of our hearts, and that is...
Yeah, so yesterday I show up at Adrian's house, and I'm like, hey, since I'm in town, let's just do a podcast where we talk about the sequel trilogy one more time, give that dead horse one last kick. You know, it's been like 3 years since the last movie came out, but we're still going on about it because we have nothing else in our lives.
Yeah, and the craziest thing is, I told him, like, hey, this Friday, let's do it. And this Friday, they announced, this morning, a whole slate of new Star Wars products and content.
No, just today.
Just today.
I thought there was news earlier in the week as well, wasn't there?
Well, there was news that there was going to be news.
Yeah. So
today, some of the news came out. Now, tomorrow, some more of the news is going to come out.
Really,
I have an inside
scoop.
He's got it.
My uncle works in Nintendo.
Yeah.
Kind of, but it's more like my friend works with someone who works on it.
My friend John Star Wars.
Yeah, my friend John Star Wars works for Jim Star Wars.
And
Jim Star Wars just Star Wars
do you want headphones?
all over the whole thing.
Because you're the only person not wearing headphones. You could wear this.
Oh yeah.
I'm so happy I made that. It's got a hilarious amount of padding, huh?
So freaking.
For the audio listeners, Andrew's putting on a
X-Wing helmet.
decent replica, right, of X-Wing?
Yeah, it's a decent replica. It's not well put together. I didn't really know what I was doing when I made it.
How old is that thing?
When did Star Wars Episode 7
It smells pretty
come out?
fucking old. It smells
2013?
Yeah.
Yeah.
14. So it's that old. I built it for
release
night. I don't
14
know
or 15? 15. It came out 2015.
I don't know.
Anyway.
What would be great
No, it
if
would've
we
been
had
earlier.
an app.
Anyway, so...
Hey?
Today's April 8th, 2023, and we're still talking about Disney Star Wars.
well, because
It was that bad, yeah.
because they simply refuse to just quit making them. The sequels were very heavily focus grouped and like money driven.
No, that's not true.
old.
The
That needs to be
ninth
turned
movie was
That's coming
only
through the audio.
focus grouped. Episode 8 was just done by, a dude with a dream. And that
Episode
dream
8 was the writer-director.
Yeah,
right? They got Ryan Johnson.
He decided this is going to be this way.
And it's weird because he's done some good movies. He did some of the better Breaking Bad episodes.
When it comes to Ryan Johnson, you need a tight leash on him, and you cannot let him do a sequel to anything. Those are the two rules.
I guess not, yeah.
Because between Episode 8 and
Glass Onion,
which was a sequel to
his own movie.
Knives Out, his own movie, that was really good. That was the worst movie of the year. And I just think that...
That can't be true. There must have been worse movies.
It was the worst one for me.
Oh, okay, that you saw?
What did
Knives Out?
We're on Glass Onion
Glass
now, which I
Onion
thought
was
was
so
entertaining at least. I liked Edward
That's
Norton.
a hard sell.
Edward Norton reminded me of Todd Howard in that movie.
He did a lot.
Which is interesting because Ryan Johnson also reminds me of Todd Howard.
What's interesting is somehow
they're not all Todd Howard, right?
Somehow Edward Norton reminded you of Todd Howard, even though Edward Norton's character was a lying person who oversold his own ability to deliver a product.
Whereas Todd
which
always
has nothing,
tells the truth.
Yeah, which has
And
nothing to do with
and
Todd Howard.
It just works.
It just works.
Every time, baby.
You see that? You can go there.
Your Starfield's supposed to come out, I think, this year.
Yeah, September.
Every time,
Wait, really?
It's coming out for real.
I thought it
No
was
more
I
delays.
thought it was this month, dude.
every
No,
time
that's
anybody,
Zelda that comes out next month.
anytime you say out loud
Sometime in May,
a
right?
release date for Starfield, they actually hear that and push another day.
Nope,
Yep.
it's for real.
Still gonna be
Never
Star
told a
Citizen,
lie.
Right?
Yeah, like
Elder
Skyrim,
Scrolls
yeah.
series.
Yeah, it's the same guys. Starfield is basically Skyrim in space.
With guns.
Skyrim and Space with Guns. Yeah, that's the review.
Yeah, that's what
I
I
don't
just
even
wrote the
need to
review
know.
for you, IGN. You're welcome. We are not sponsored by IGN.
Not sponsored by
Not
IGN.
sponsored by IGN.
IGN, hire me.
Hire us.
Yeah. So episode 7, I think, was fairly competent as a film by itself. I don't think it was great, but I think that...
Yeah.
I think after the tepid reaction to the prequels and then the terrible reaction to the Clone Wars movie that came out.
All things being fair, that movie sucks.
Oh yeah, no, totally agree. But
and Joe Biden almost nuked Russia over it.
yeah, I remember that. That's
Yeah.
true. But after that, it wasn't. It wasn't like the audience was really clamoring, like the wide general audience was really clamoring for Star Wars.
Yeah.
And it's not like the Star Wars fans were really excited for a new product. So I think 7 filled the niche
That's a
that
lie.
it...
The second that trailer came out, everybody's pants hit the floor.
Yeah.
So goddamn
Because
fast.
it was
a shot heard around the world, except it was a sploosh.
But I think that's a testament to what Episode 7, what the content was.
Clip that.
The content of Episode 7 was literally greatest hits of Star Wars, let's go, let's bring back everything you like with a new spin that freshens it up a little bit and leaves the door open for interesting stories to continue.
I don't
Right.
think it freshens it up.
I think the most favorable view of Episode 7 was that it was a palate cleanser to
Yes.
reintroduce you to all the things you like, so that the next movie can
Will
take
be
that
so
and
cool
and run in a
and
new
so
direction.
great.
The biggest failure of Episode 7 is that it resets everything off of 6
Yes.
retroactively. So you never see any of Luke's character development, right? He goes back to being a nobody hermit after becoming the great hero.
Yeah.
Harrison Ford, he's back to
Being a
smuggler with Chewbacca and getting into hijinks and everything. Nice, thank you.
That was so.
I don't know how you did that.
Carrie Fisher, she's now back to being the person who stands in the control room, because she went from in Episode 4 kind of being snarky and standing in the control room while the heroes blew up the Death Star,
To being
But-
an actual hero.
right. In Episode 6, she's a soldier. She's a ground trooper and befriends the Ewoks and shoots her gun and all that stuff.
For its faults, Episode 7 did have a lot of setup for potentially cooler things. It left a big gap in resetting everything and making things kind of boring. It also left an opening where everybody's kind of asking, well, what the fuck is this First Order thing anyway, right? What's up with this big guy Snoke? What the hell is he? Who is Rey? Was a question posed in the film by several characters.
And what awakens, right? It's
Yeah.
called The Force Awakens. What
exactly
awoken?
is
What
happening?
does that mean?
Everybody realized that English girls might actually be attractive.
Yeah.
Well,
In it.
And it.
Doubt.
Yeah, but also you have pretty interesting characters. I mean, there was enough mystique around Kylo Ren and whatever happened with Luke to create a potentially interesting storyline in the next film. But they kind of just never followed up on any of the cool parts and instead just remade Episode 5. Because what's it called? Last Jedi is just Episode 5 and Episode 6 smashed together into one movie. When they fire Starkiller Base and blow up, what's the fucking planet?
Who gives a
New
shit?
Republic, New
Republic planet.
Republic planet, and all of its moons.
Globe Shadow planet.
Yeah, it's full of glove shitos.
Yeah. Oh no, they destroyed the Glup Shido system. When they do that, the way that the scene is cut, it's a J cut where the audio comes in as Finn is loading the ship because he's trying to run away, and he turns his head because he hears that audio and then sees the planets exploding in the skybox. He is obviously force sensitive from that scene alone, and that's first off, it's a very clever way to reveal that in the film text itself. Nobody's coming up to him and saying, you have like X amount of midichlorians in your system, or like, oh my god, I sent something about you. It's the kid hears something and then looks up to see what he heard, and it's actually, millions of miles away.
I think
That's
it's more like trillions. Actually.
whatever the number. It's really cool, and that kid was a stormtrooper, and this version of stormtrooper were kids who were kidnapped and forced to be stormtroopers. So if he, as a kid, was selected and then kidnapped and then forced into a stormtrooper program, and he turns out to be force sensitive, may all of that whole First Order stormtrooper program be about kidnapping force sensitive kids and using them in a certain way to maybe accumulate force related power. That's a way cooler way to take a story than sidelining him for 2 movies, putting him into a coma at the end, and then bringing him back into life to go to space Monaco.
The other thing I want to call out about episode 7 is it felt like it was respecting the original trilogy more.
Yeah.
I liked
There was an air of
deference. Yeah, specifically, I liked Ray living in a fallen at.
That was great.
Oh, I hate you.
Why?
Well, because it was like
That was so
no.
cool.
I thought it was like
That's not what I'm saying.
Because he didn't call it AT-AT.
Yes, spell it out. You're lazy.
Anyways, it made me think that J.J. Abrams was like calling out how like this new movie is like living in the shell
In the post-world.
in like an English teacher metaphor kind of way of
this
the
is dumb
original
enough to be
trilogy.
correct,
I mean,
by the
the-
way.
Actually, it was a reference to how in episode 5, that was the first appearance of the AT-ATs on Hoth, and Luke was living inside a Tauntaun at the time.
That's
J.J.
wrong and stupid, so I'm not even going to address that.
No, I do think the first 10, 15 minutes of that movie where you see the crash
The best
spaceships.
part- okay,
with-
so actually, I
and,
have a very
mounds
specific
of
complaint
sand.
about the beginning.
What?
The one thing I hate, and it comes down to the way that Rey is characterized throughout the trilogy, is that she never loses. She doesn't lose at anything. She never loses anything
But
in general.
go back to the beginning.
But so in the beginning, oh yeah, she can like totally just go through some new order, base and just know exactly what flips to switch and avoid all the patrols, and she can do all the stuff. And the easiest thing was just to not
No,
make her
what
a
flips to switch?
Like, I hated that she could just fly everything.
Anyone else hear that?
Yeah,
Am I
she's
the only
way-
person?
I heard it. I chose to move.
But I wish she had at least been like afraid of flying, because she's lived her entire life on the ground. Why the hell would she all of a sudden be?
yeah, I mean, it was
Everything
stupid.
else, everything else, like I can swing with, but her being a pilot was unnecessary.
Well, because the whole thing is she's a Luke. It's just a Luke analog. It's like rewriting the first
but
movie.
but Luke's entire shtick was that
Yeah, you've been practicing racing.
he basically went like
I'm the best pilot in the
in whatever the
the hell is,
the
yeah.
valley and whatever. Like he there's enough exposition within it that he's supposed to be a good pilot.
Yeah, where she's like this,
Where
like
she's just like this
total
chick
nobody
who,
that
like,
grew up on her own and
yeah, if she fights people
survived
with
somehow.
sticks
Yeah.
real good, I believe that, right? Because she's a scrapper. But I don't believe that suddenly she's doing ace combat on max difficulty.
Well, you forgot to read the lore that was in the visual dictionary for episode 7, where
Hit me with it.
where Ray was actually like that quad jumper
Yeah.
in Angkor Plut's junkyard.
How do
She
you
was
remember that?
taught to
Name.
fly on Angkor Plut's quad jumper,
Yeah.
which is the thing that they're running towards before it explodes, and they have to go to the
That
Millennium
old
Falcon.
piece of junk.
The old piece of junk, the
The
Millennium, Falcon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that problem is something that could have been retroactively addressed in future movies,
And they just
like
didn't.
made sense retroactively.
I just
and
don't
they
like that
didn't.
she's a pilot on top of a
If
great
you were
fighter and
wondering,
everything
Angkor
else.
Plut is the character played by Simon Pegg,
yes.
who goes, "That's my ship." It's a fucking
He's the guy handing out the portions.
tour de force performance.
Funniest shit I've ever seen.
God bless Angkor Plut. I cannot wait to see him again in The Mandalorian season 3.
Yeah, it really just comes
no,
down
he
to the
doesn't
fact that those things might even need to be plugged up in the next movie. It just was badly made.
There's
badly
differences between things that need to be plugged up and explained, and things that are like, oh yeah, that leaves a door open for an interesting plot. So like Finn, it opens like interesting plot lines for him to develop into a different character, to develop the world a little bit bigger. Even the stuff with Rey and her background being weird. There's a lot of lines in the movie that point to every single major character knowing exactly who she is, and the audience is the only one who's not cued into it. There's the scene where, from the start, the first scene where Kylo Ren's on the planet and he's choking out
the old dude.
Who's the guy who plays him?
Yeah,
old dude,
British actor. But Lor Santeca is the character's name.
Something far worse has happened to you.
Yeah. So when he's talking to him, it's like, okay, so this guy who was really close to Luke just happens to be on this same fucking podunk planet. That's supposed to be Rey's Obi-Wan that's going to take care of her later, but in an interesting twist of fate, like, oh yeah,
Obi-Wan got murked.
Vader got to Obi-Wan first. And that's a kind of a cool way to start that story. Like, hey, we're redoing it, but it's like kind of different this time. Just from a story writing perspective. Then when BB-8 runs away with the plans, and the stormtroopers report to Kylo Ren and say like, "Oh, we found the droid, and it's with some girl," And Kylo Ren goes, "What girl?" And then immediately like cuts to the next scene, implying that the girl may be an important person, and that's the reason he came to that planet to begin with, right? When she first meets Han Solo and she says something like, "I never thought there was this much green in the universe," he has this look of not just like, "Oh, that's kind of sad," like actual guilt on his face. Like it's
like, yeah.
Yeah, but it's played as though like he had some hand in her fate, and then the last thing
I don't know about that.
The last thing is when she goes.
You don't even remember what movie scenes were from. Don't give me that. I don't know about that. Picture the scene in your
I
head.
remember enough.
No, you don't.
when you, the real linchpin is when they go to the little cantina thing
I'm not watching those movies again. They're fucking
with
terrible.
Lupita Nyong'o's little orange alien character,
Which is such a disservice to that.
Anyway, when they go to that and they have that falling out at the table and Finn's like, "I'm fucking leaving and I'm out of here," and then Rey runs down to grab the light. She has a panic attack and goes down to grab the lightsaber that she doesn't know is there. The last two people at the table are Han Solo and Maz Kanata.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And she
was that close?
She leans over the table and like flicks her little like specular down and looks him in the eyes and says, "Who's the girl?" And then it cuts to a look on Han Solo's face like, "Fuck, I gotta tell you now, don't I?" And then it cuts away from that scene and it's Rey grabbing the lightsaber. So there's a history there between all of the major characters where all of them know who Rey is, and right into episode 8, we get Rey.
Ryan Johnson's Magical Adventure Time.
But even if you look at it as like a whole thing between all three of the movies and give it the most charitable look, Han Solo wouldn't know that Palpatine had a clone and that clone had a daughter and that daughter was placed in Anchor Plutt's hands. And Maz Kanata wouldn't know any of those characters.
Yeah.
Like, so the episode 7 had some really cool things to build on, and episode 8 chose to just, I
think the best part about episode 7 was the start was really good. The first like 5 to 10 minutes of like world building, and the Millennium Falcon chase scene was fucking fantastic.
The best thing about episode 7 is it gave me a line that I quote at least weekly, if not daily.
What?
But no damage. Oh. That's my favorite line in all of Star Wars. The missiles have hit, but no damage. That's what's that guy's name? He has a stupid name too.
Like the actor or the character?
No, the character, the fucking alien guy. He's got a Beastie Boys name. His name is a Beastie Boys pun.
I have no idea.
Elo Atsy. His name is Elo Atsy, like Hello Nasty. That's true. It's in Arabesh on his fucking helmet.
You are so stupid. What?
It's not a joke. Anyway, continue, Bernard. Usher us into the next section while I pull this up.
Oh, I'm continuing.
On to 8,
what else?
I think.
Okay, so other cool thing in episode 7. Kylo freezing the laser bolt.
That was
and
great.
it like
Sick.
reflects
Absolutely
on the stormtrooper's head.
And the way that it
it's like
the visuals of that was
right. Well,
fantastic.
it's another parallel of like, Kylo's clearly showing off because he doesn't actually need to do that. And it's also the filmmaker showing off what new technology can do. Oh, there was a really good Poe had a really good line when he takes the Resistance fighters and they show up on top of the cantina. He's like, "These Imperial thugs are cowards. Hit them straight on. Don't show any fear." He feels like a leader and an established
really cool
character. And he's
then
cool.
they do nothing
There's
with
a lot
that.
of cool character. Yeah, well,
Rather, they cut him off at the
his-
knees and slice off his balls in the next movie.
his arc in episode 8 is learning to not be a leader and to blindly follow orders.
Yeah.
And that was kind of
Even though he shouldn't have followed orders according to the information that he had.
And also that the orders were really dumb.
Yeah.
And
stop asking questions. Shut up and stop asking questions and do as I say.
what's your favorite scene from episode 8?
titty milk.
Don't feed him any. He
No,
needs
no,
to
no,
think.
my-
He needs to think
The
about
question wasn't to you,
it.
Mick.
It wasn't to you. It was to
I know.
him.
No, come on. What's your favorite scene?
I'm trying to think.
In fact, you know what? I'll do you one better.
What is
one scene?
What is a
What's one scene?
Name a scene from the movie we're discussing.
I think my favorite scene has to be
Come on. Can't
the
be
really
titty
bizarre
scene. Can't be the titty scene.
animal stampede through the fucking casino,
This
spilling
is why
chips
we're really
everywhere.
here.
That's
Not
fair.
to save the empire from evil, but to free these irrelevant animals on
Yeah.
this planet.
Well, okay,
we're not
so this
saving the slaves on this
so-
planet,
so
by the way.
the
That would be
slave
too much
children?
work.
Yeah.
But
The
we're
slave
freeing
chil-
these
Okay,
animals.
Oh, yeah,
actually,
and
no.
guess what?
My biggest fucking gripe.
That's what being a Star Wars is all about.
My biggest fucking gripe about this
Just love
movie
that
is
part.
that like at the end it's like, oh yeah, anyone could be a Jedi or whatever the fucking line is, and then it cuts to the kid and he uses the Force to like bring the broom to him, right? The slave kid from the casino with the weird horse face animals, right? Or human face horses. So you're coming in saying
I don't
like,
remember these human face things.
you're gonna pull it up. The long and short that I'm getting at is, like, what's a sport introduced in Star Wars that is too difficult for normal humans to do? I'll give you a hint. It's not racing human-faced horses. It's pod racing. We haven't seen pod racing once this entire time. Like, literally since episode 1.
Jesus Christ, I don't remember any of these fucking screenshots. I just blocked that movie out of my head.
You were just talking about how it's your favorite scene. And you're like, oh, I don't remember this at all.
I remember that. I remember the specific
sequence.
flashes of awfulness.
The
where
best part about that entire
Stampede,
sequence
yeah.
is that they save these guys, these horses, from being treated like horses. And the way they do that is not by like evacuating them off the planet
by
or
riding
even
them.
getting them to the other side of the planet. They walk them 15 minutes out of the city and they're like, yeah, we did our work. Let's go. We're out of here.
In true PETA fashion.
We got Benicio
Where's
del
the
Toro.
cough
We're
button?
good to go.
I need to sneeze, so I'm asking.
Adrian will cut it out, don't worry.
Yeah, I'll cut it out.
Okay.
Sneeze.
No, when I get
No, we're all waiting for you.
when it's ready.
You just said you were ready.
Yeah,
Well,
you were
yeah,
just,
Let's
but
see
then
this sneeze.
you were just talking about this big sneeze Mick had, Bruin.
Now you got to sneeze.
He's gonna sneeze right.
There's no payoff.
No, I'll get there. Just turn on that light real quick.
There's no payoff. Just like episode 8.
Do you have that?
Hey.
You have that
It's like that
Good
itch that's
joke,
in my
bro.
nose.
there's a word for it. When you look at bright light and it makes you sneeze.
Yeah,
Stupid.
that's not doing it.
No, that would do it.
And that was pointing at a wall.
Sunlight would do it.
Prosopagnosia.
Is that what that is?
Yeah.
You made that
Yeah.
up. You made that up. You 100% made that up.
Shut up, you fell for it. Just shut up.
There's a word very similar to that. There is a word that sounds very similar to that.
Photosensitivity.
My favorite part of
What did you
episode
say?
8,
What did you-
unironically, is Rey and Kylo cutting down all the color guard in the throne room.
Yeah, it's a really
what now?
pretty scene.
A, it's really pretty. B, that's the point of the movie where you genuinely don't know what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
And then it does the worst possible thing, which is return to the
Which
status
is
quo.
nothing happens.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
still evil. You're still good.
That's actually the best thing.
Everything's the
No,
same.
no,
The-
I
the
wanted
movie-
a heel face flip on both of
The
them.
movie could have been really good. Not really good, but it would have at least had me if it ended right after that scene where the ship has exploded and you have they're both like waking up because they got knocked out and everything's on fire near them, and he gives her that whole speech about like, you're nobody but you're someone to me, join me. And if the movie had just ended with her grabbing his hand and just cut to black, that would have been like a really cool ending to a Star Wars movie. Oh yeah, your good guy is now the bad guy halfway through this saga,
I wanted them to do a complete flip.
where Kylo turns into a good guy.
Yeah. Where he goes like, oh no, I've realized the error of my ways after killing that dude that trained me.
Do we want to just do like a narrative run through of this movie, because it's not really a long narrative, and we can just go point
they're
by
running
point.
from... Okay, so ships are running from ships. They're tracking them through hyperspace.
Well, no, let's
For
start-
some reason, they're just far enough out of range for the lasers to have range fall off in space.
That's fine. Who cares about that? The Star Wars has never been a science fiction movie. It
No,
doesn't
no,
have
no,
to
no.
make sense.
This is actually
The technology
this is
services
dog
the
shit.
plot, not the other way around.
No, this is dog shit stupid even for that. Now, if they said something... If they said something to the effect of, oh, we're at a range...
He's totally right, you know.
No. We're at a range where there's like, the lasers can I have this. If the lasers can no longer hold their like integrity or whatever, that I'd be able to go like, sure, whatever, right? But the thing has a fucking like arc and like has a range fall off like a fucking bullet. It's not a physical projectile.
I vaguely
It's
do
also-
remember. I
there's
remember
also
that.
no
I remember being
gravity.
really
It's
mad.
space.
Yeah.
Also,
Yeah.
it's in space in 0 G. If there was like a
Micro G.
range, like damage dissipation or something.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, like, you know, it splashes against the shield, but it doesn't do enough damage to do anything. Like, okay,
This is one of those things where, like, in a good movie, no one would give a shit, but in a bad movie,
It's so
it stands
obvious.
out as bad, because it doesn't make sense.
It's just another thing.
Well, because you
to hate.
open the movie with a crank call and a Yo Mama joke, and then after that, everybody's gonna be looking at each scene and saying like, what can I pick out that I'm gonna hate from this? You opened it on possibly the most hateable moment in a Star Wars movie.
Yeah, that was really, really weird and out of place.
Yeah.
What was the opening? I remember the opening being
was
the bombing
yeah,
scene.
so it opens with Poe Dameron in his X-wing, right? And
Yeah.
he
With
goes
a turbo booster jury rigged
oh,
out to
totally
the back.
fine. I'm not even mad about that.
That's
I think
actually
that was,
really cool.
I thought that was cool as fuck.
I'm trying to give the movie some credit. It had some original ideas. Like
Yeah.
It had original
giving him a
ideas.
booster there is
like
like something.
Leia
I've
turning
seen
herself
before.
into a suicide bomber and just...
No, wrong. It's Superman. She turned herself into Superman.
That's not even the right character.
Yeah, like, what are you doing?
Alex, I don't think Alex has seen these movies.
Princess Leia in 8, right?
No, you're thinking of
Purple hair.
yeah, blue hair,
Admiral
purple.
Holdo.
Admiral
that's-
Holdo.
Doesn't Princess... Oh, yeah,
No, Princess
yeah.
Leia turns into Superman, which is also
Yeah,
like
yeah, no, I'm getting the... It's
so
the same fucking
no,
sequence.
well, so the most aggravating part of that whole sequence was that
She looked-
by the time the movie came out, Carrie Fisher had passed away. Right? Like
Yeah.
that's it. She was gone. Like
Some say that they
If
showed her
they
the
had-
first cut.
if they had if they had let that character die when the bridge exploded with everybody else, right?
Yeah.
That would have been like, I think, maybe a fitting farewell. Like
You
character.
can't kill a character. You can't kill that character off in that franchise.
How did they kill that character off, Alex?
I don't actually remember.
She
They
died-
killed her because she died of a broken heart.
No, she actually didn't even die of a
Oh
broken
no,
heart.
sorry. She gave up her life to bring her son back.
Yeah,
No,
but
it
I'm
wasn't
saying-
even that. She literally died because she was tired.
She could have
No,
have
that's
had
Luke.
She
Luke
could
died because he
you're
was
right.
tired.
She could have had an epic death, but I don't think it shouldn't be like a George R. R. Martin killed someone unexpectedly
No,
because it's Star
no,
Wars.
but what
she
I'm
should have had
saying-
an epic death.
Okay, but she didn't have that anyway.
Yeah, no.
So what I'm saying is, knowing that, like, oh shit, we don't have any more material. There's no way that we can give her a send off that's like, oh my god, like Last Stand send off or whatever that we gave like Luke or Han or whatever. Her dying trying to help her people is a much better death than I'm Tai Tai Nai Nai Good Night.
Yeah.
With
I agree.
With that scene, I mean, if you really wanted to show her Force sensitive, just like the bomb hits and she holds the bridge.
Yeah, I was
together
going to say that.
and lets everybody escape.
And
She
then
was
she dies.
because
She passes out and dies.
she's supposed to be like the most. It's alluded to that she's one of the most powerful Jedi ever, right?
She's
It's alluded to that she's more
Not in
powerful.
these movies.
It's alluded to that she's more powerful than Luke, but
Yeah.
also doesn't give a shit enough to walk the walk.
Because that would have been amazing if
Like
she
they
held,
show
like-
that she really
yeah.
can do it, but she just never wanted to.
Yeah.
See, now you're doing that thing where you're thinking too much.
and it's
very
Ryan
upsetting.
Johnson movies.
Just
And you're not
clap
supposed to
when
think at all
we
in his
show you
movies.
the lightsabers clashing together, and you hear the sound of the lightsaber, and you clapped because it sounded like a lightsaber. That's what Star Wars is all about.
It's about family.
It's about family
It's
and
about-
Wrong
Palpatines and
franchise.
Skywalkers.
Wrong franchise.
That's it.
Wrong franchise.
No, I'm gonna play a clip here where it's the video doc and they're all saying it's about family.
Is that something they did?
Yeah.
And it wasn't like a Fast and Furious joke?
Nope.
It's about family, and that's what's so powerful about it.
It was played straight.
I mean, I guess
That was for episode 9, right? Because
No,
episode
that was
9,
episode 8. That was episode 8.
No, episode 8 wasn't about family because Rey's nobody. But then in episode 9, they realized, oh, actually,
She's
people
somebody.
were
He's
upset
somebody.
that Rey's nobody. So she's Palpatine
Yeah.
because he's really important to Star Wars.
They were like, yeah, it turns out that when you tell people that somebody's somebody and then you tell them that they're nobody, it's like just not satisfying and people don't like it.
yeah.
But,
it
but,
turns
well,
out
the thing
which
is, like,
is ironic.
if they had run that like through and seen it through to the end, no one would have really cared that much.
Because it was the only twist in episode 8. The
Yeah.
only actual
That meant
twist in
anything.
episode 8 was that Rey actually was nobody because everyone was expecting
because
her
everything
to be
else,
somebody.
everything else wasn't a twist. It was just
Subvert
doing dumb
your
shit.
Everything else
expectations,
was
Ryan
like
Johnson.
making the wrong
alluding
decision.
something was going to happen, but then actually what you expect to happen is what happens.
No,
Yeah.
I'm saying like everything else was just dumb shit. Like, okay, we killed Luke. That was dumb.
Oh, how about this? There's a
There's a planet that looks like Hoth, but then the guy like licks the ground and goes, "It's salt."
we can't talk about any of our plans with any of our people because there may be a mole on the ship. So instead of addressing the possible mole on the ship as part of the plot, we're just gonna send a couple people to rescue drunk ass Benicio del Toro, and then do some. Why didn't they just send more of those lifeboats out with more people to get them off the ship if they were
Well,
undetected?
the lifeboat thing with Benicio del Toro, that wasn't a sanctioned mission.
Yeah, but they didn't
That-
get caught.
Yes, but
So it
that,
didn't-
that was
it was good.
that was
Totally
Poe
chill.
being like, "Hey, I trust you to go get help." He's not the bad guy in this.
But
Poe
he's
did
played
everything
off
right.
as if he did everything wrong.
Yeah, no, but I'm
And that
saying like
he should
if-
have just listened to his superior officer, even though
Did you know this movie was actually
Even though
sponsored
she
by the
didn't
U.S.
tell him
military?
anything.
I believe it.
I lied. Misinformation. But
you got me.
Yeah, no, it does really aggravate me with episode 8 because Poe is doing any and everything correctly. If you're in that kind of dumb situation,
Yeah.
And then
And-
Leia comes back to life out of her space coma and says, well, you know...
should have just trusted her.
If I was you, me, Leia, the rebel who never trusted authority, if I was in your position, I would have just trusted this person that you just met and nobody really knew, who kept doing things that got people killed. That's a good idea, Poe, and don't fucking ask me why.
Right, and she was acting super untrustworthy the whole movie.
Yeah.
Only so that it would be a twist when it turns out that
She
she should
wasn't-
have been trusted.
Yeah.
So there's
not really a twist.
There's
That's
no
just bad
character
writing.
reason for her to be untrustworthy. It just does it so that it can be a twist.
It's an extra
even
narrative
though it's not a
reason. Yeah.
twist because she's a
It's not a
rebellion
twist.
commander.
It's just stupid.
Typical Ryan Johnson writing. That's just all.
Yeah, I mean, it's
everything he does
basically
is
what he
that.
did in Glass Onion, which is like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, like I didn't feed you any information about this, so you came to the wrong conclusion, like an idiot.
Yeah.
And you're kind of sitting there
Or
going like,
I literally showed you something. And
Yeah,
then
that
I
was
went, "It's-
wrong."
It didn't happen. Yeah.
yeah. So it's one
Psych,
of those.
bitch.
Yeah.
It's one of those
You
things
idiot.
where you're kind of sitting there going like, I'm not stupid. I
Oh,
came
so
to the
now
right
I can't
conclusion.
trust any part of this movie.
Yeah, so I
so
came
now
to
I've lost
the-
all interest in any investment I had. Yeah.
Well, I came to the right conclusion with the information that I was given. It's not like,
Yeah.
for example, Clue, where
So good.
the information is technically there. You just have to be paying attention in the
Yeah.
background, kind of thing.
Clue is. I watched that recently for the first time. It's great.
It's
a great
great.
movie. Yeah.
Have you seen all the endings?
Yeah. I watched it on Amazon Prime, and they show
Yeah.
all the endings at the end. Yeah.
So, out of episode 8, what's the single worst aspect of the film?
I got that one. Casino. Anything involved with that 40-minute casino trunk.
That was so long.
Yeah.
I rewatched it.
Yeah.
I was like,
So
oh my god,
much.
they spent so much
It's like half
time.
the fucking
Yeah, that
movie.
Doesn't,
so
it
long.
doesn't go anywhere.
The
It's
high
not-
roller that they were looking for wasn't Lando.
Right.
That actually
Yeah.
hurts now that you mention it. I never even made that connection in my brain. I
There's,
was, oh,
there's a
they're
high
looking
roller. He's an old rebellion friend. He's at the casino gambling. He's gonna give you some information that'll help you out, and it's just some dude, some schmuck.
I think it was how they did Finn dirty because
Yeah,
he
that was
was
mine
he was
too.
the best character from the first one.
Yeah.
because he had so much room to grow. He
Are you s-
reminds you a lot of Han Solo,
Yeah.
but at least Han Solo is charming and brave,
Yeah.
even though he's selfish. Finn is selfish and cowardly and not very competent.
And he
his
keeps
dog.
getting
And
more
he
cowardly.
has so much room to grow as a character and step into the hero's shoes.
And also,
And instead, what happened is he talks to this chick who talks to him for 5 minutes as he's trying to desert. And then
He
after
did
a
that?
5-minute pep talk, he decides, oh, you know what? I'm gonna be the hero and risk my life and be brave now. You, this stranger, have convinced me to be the hero. Do you remember when Han Solo became the hero in Episode 4? At the pinnacle of the movie where Vader's
At the
gunning
very
down
end.
Luke and about to kill him, and they have 15 seconds left before they blow up the rebel base. And then at the last second, Han Solo, who it's been kind of alluded to that he is developing a soft spot for these characters, shows up and saves the day so that Luke can blow up the Death Star.
Yeah.
It's the pinnacle of the movies, Han becoming selfless and caring about other people. And in 8, it's just this throwaway scene with this new character you've never met. And then that's it. That's Finn's character development. He never gets any more character development for the rest of the trilogy.
Yeah.
He's just brave and ready to do anything for the rebellion now.
Finn's journey in the movie is really, I mean, from the jump, it really disappointing because the movie takes place maybe 5 hours after episode 7, which is really, really condensed and really close. And episode 7 ends with Rey sitting next to Finn's lifeless body and saying like, I don't know if you're ever going to wake up from this, man, but if you do, I'm probably going to be gone and it's going to be a long time. And then like 5 minutes later, he just like wakes up and he's totally fine. After getting eviscerated by a lightsaber.
Yeah, that's another thing that like I say, in a good movie no one would care, but in a bad movie it stands out as being particularly bad.
I really expected like during that movie during this series Finn was going to kind of be an anti-Vader, you know, where he would get more and more fucked up as time goes on and get more and more cyborged out. Like
that'd have been really interesting
because he got fucked up. He got like his arm sliced open, his back sliced down in the first movie. Also, nobody lost an arm this series. I think that's a huge lose for everybody.
That's what Star Wars is all about, man.
Is losing
losing arms and then
and getting
the sound of
ones.
lightsabers, and then you say, "May the Force be with you."
Yeah, but
it's about family.
It's about family. But if Finn ended up being the Jedi cyborg, like kind of an anti-Vader, it at least would have been as an icon a very cool inversion. That would have been an actual
like poetry.
That would have been an actual subversion of expectations, where you expect you've seen this kind of story in a slightly different light, but now let's show it a different way. Let's go a different direction with it, and I think that would be interesting.
Yeah, I think Finn was definitely the most promising character, and they could have taken him in all sorts of different directions as well. He had a lot of room to grow in, like to be good, to be bad,
and he had good chemistry with everyone else.
Yeah, he had
everyone. He had good chemistry with Han Solo. He was good, especially good with Poe Dameron.
Yeah,
he was decent with Rey, pretty good, but room to improve there.
Yeah. And what a fascinating, from the get-go, what a fascinating idea for a character. What a fascinating idea for a character in general. A stormtrooper that's dissatisfied and is trying to escape.
A black stormtrooper. Yeah. Because that was like...
that was a big deal,
That was a surprise, right?
Yeah.
Because they didn't have those before.
Well, we never seen them.
They never before, really saw.
Well, right, but it's implied that they're all clones of this like New Zealand Maori.
No. Stormtroopers aren't clones. They're recruits.
Okay,
they've always been recruits.
Yes, but because of the prequels and like for a layman movie viewer, it's not what you expect.
Yeah.
And in the movie they explain it at the beginning. I think like they're all kind of like brainwashed recruits, and then they're
brainwashed, kidnapped kids, which is why if he's Force sensitive and he was kidnapped, there's an implication that all of the rest of them are also Force sensitive kidnapped kids. Kind of the way if they're called the First Order, it's kind of mimicking the way the Jedi Order would go around and kidnap kids and turn them into Jedi. Mm-hmm. There's an interesting layout for a story with that foundation, and instead we get
they got rid of the Jedi, and instead of recruiting Jedi children for that, they recruited them for sensitive children.
If I were writing the story, right, Snoke would be a slightly Force sensitive dude of alien origin, whatever, who found a holocron and just learned a little bit about this stuff and essentially started a Force pyramid scheme where he kidnapped a bunch of Force-sensitive kids and was tithing their power to him so that he would get stronger himself. And using them as foot soldiers.
Wasn't 7, 8, and 9 the first movies where stormtroopers actually seemed slightly effective?
Right?
They were much better.
They were effective in the first couple movies. I think that...
4, 5, and 6, they sucked.
I think in 4 they were pretty effective. I mean, let's not forget, they murdered a whole bunch of people.
You mean in the opening scene where they take the...
In the opening scene, implied on Tatooine.
Yeah.
Even in the Death Star, they're less trying to kill the protagonist and more trying to kind of corral them into one place.
I think that's a very generous...
In Episode 5, their direct orders are don't kill Luke. That's the whole thing. Vader does not want Luke dead. Vader knows who Luke is. Which is why the perfect watch order is 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. But there's a good story in these movies in a different way than the prequels. Where the prequels, if they were recut, they'd be better. I think in this, if they were rewritten,
they did a good job making the main characters, and they just screwed up everything else.
Yeah, they just didn't go anywhere. Right?
I'm trying to think of anything else. Was 8 the one with the scene with the X-wings as they're flying really low and they're cutting the top of the salt layer and it's red?
Yeah.
That's not X-wings. Those are different ships.
The problem with that was that's so fucking cool visually, but it makes no sense. Why were they doing that?
They had some throwaway line of like, oh, we found these things
like
that aren't
vessels.
working very well, and they have to drag you along.
But it's bullshit to justify.
Who fucking cares? Just enjoy the pretty visuals.
Yeah.
Don't nitpick that stuff.
But I don't know. That fucking pisses me off. It's the same thing as like the arcing laser beam.
Yeah. And then the ships have to fly on top of the destroyers to drop bombs, which fall and like accelerate because of gravity. Like
in space.
Yeah, it's just. I mean, it's just like a. Huh? It's just supposed to be like ocean battle instead of space battle.
Yeah.
Like it's just a different visual metaphor.
But if you go,
the technology.
Have you
is
seen?
not what
Have you
matters.
seen The Expanse?
Yes.
The way that they did space battles was fantastic. With what the fuck's he doing?
He's eating
Did
something.
you drop ice?
Yes.
Like an hour ago.
And you didn't pick it up?
An hour ago, it just disappears, right? But anyway, yeah. So, were you exhausted 8, or do you have anything else left to say on 8?
What else was there?
I mean, we didn't even talk about Luke and Yoda and that whole bullshit on the island.
Who cares?
I mean, it's just such a bummer to. Okay, wait, no. Here's an actual complaint that I have, like from a filmic perspective.
Luke throwing away the lightsaber.
No, fuck that. fuck characterization and everything. From a film perspective, Star Wars should not have flashbacks. It should. Once you've had 6 movies, you've codified what the visual and filmic style of it is.
Yeah.
You have wide shots. You have very scenic views. You have, you have wipe cuts, right? You know what Star Wars looks like. Of the original 6 movies, which now that's the original 6, there's no flashbacks. There's nothing extemporaneous, right? The movies are played in a chronologically linear fashion. The only time there is a flashback is 1, 2, and 3, because that's an extended flashback. Episode 8 not only has a flashback, but it has 3 flashbacks that are the same flashback.
Yep.
They think they're... and people are like, whoa, that's really clever. They're showing it from different perspectives. And I'm not going to say, like, oh, it's not clever because it's been done before. But it's literally Rashomon, which is one of the most famous films of all time, is the originator of that trope in popular media, and is one of the movies that George Lucas was infatuated with, that inspired, not directly inspired him to make Star Wars, but was part of the foundation of Star Wars legacy.
Have you seen any Akira Kurosawa movies?
A couple.
The lead actor in that and all of, or most of the other Kurosawa movies is Toshiro Mifune, who was the original casting choice for Obi-Wan Kenobi. Like, so having a Rashomon movie in this as a B plot is uninspired and really stylistically jarring.
Yeah.
I mean, even watching the movie when it came out, it was very like, why the fuck are they doing this? Like, we don't need that whole like, oh, there's guys, there's actually 3 sides to every story. Like, there's what he said, and the truth. And like, fuck off. Your playground nursery rhyme.
What did
bullshit.
you like from it? I'm trying to think of scenes.
There's some really good visuals in it.
I liked. Okay. Hot take. I liked Luke showing up on Crate to buy the Rebellion time.
Yeah.
That was another effective twist, one that you could see coming, that wasn't what you expected to happen.
Was that when he died?
And there was a build up to it. I'm talking about like before he died, right? He's there. They blow him up with 1 billion lasers, and then he's there, and he does the standoff against Kylo to buy the resistance time to get out of there. It was because they always have to introduce new force powers, right?
Yeah.
And it was a rare case in this of the force is just whatever it needs to service
what
the
it needs
plot,
to be. Yeah.
Right. Same with technology, right? Technology, it all goes in service of the plot and the characters. That's what's most important. The fact that he died was stupid and kind of ruined the scene because it's like he died from from trying too hard. What? Like,
Well, that's what Kanye West always said: is when you try
Fade.
hard is when you die hard.
Fading away.
right? Well, the
Adrian,
real
come on.
reason he died is because that was a dramatic moment for his character to die.
Yes. I didn't. It kind of felt like Ryan Johnson just really wanted to be the person that killed Luke off.
I just didn't. I don't like the idea of edgy, like broody Luke. Luke is
Yeah.
I hated Luke.
There's
Nor did he. I mean, he was very outspoken about.
there's an archetype of a hero that I think is what George Lucas wanted from Star Wars was that it was a fairy tale.
Yeah.
It was a fairy tale to instill good ideas and good beliefs in kids about heroism, about strength, about power, and
It was mythos. Mythos.
Yeah. So when you there's enough
one of these.
there's enough Batmans out there. There's enough sad boy heroes that are like, oh, my life sucks. And I mean, coming from somebody who's emotionally predisposed to be like that and like enjoy melancholy things, it's a huge breath of fresh air whenever a show or a movie or a book can have like, hey, the hero's actually just like a nice, hopeful dude who likes things and he believes the best in people.
Yeah.
And when you take a hero who's like that and you make him into the same thing that everybody else is, because we're in the modern era and everything has to be dark and broody and sarcastic and kind of mean-spirited, you've removed a little bit of light from the world.
I have a question. Okay, so Luke in the original series kind of he represents hope, right? Throughout the whole. How could
No, Leia does, because she says it at one point.
But like, yeah. But so
Hope.
Luke kind of represents hope for the galaxy and just like his entire character, his entire personality
Is A New Hope.
Yeah. So, and Ryan Johnson turns it on its head in episode 8. How could they have done that to where you flip Luke and you make it work?
One line of dialogue.
Okay.
When he's with Yoda, right? In episode 8, Yoda like fucking lights the tree on fire, whatever the fuck it is, right?
Well, that's the scene where Yoda tells the audience that the theme of the movie is failure, because unless Yoda told you that, you wouldn't be able to figure it out.
Because it was so poorly put together.
well, everyone in the movie fails, but unfortunately, they forgot to learn from their failures, which is the theme of the movie. Is that failing is what teaches you,
But
which is a good theme. It's such a disappointment, because you listen to interviews with Ryan Johnson talk about the movie, and the movie he describes sounds like it would be a really good Star Wars movie.
So the line
I think that's it. I think that's the issue with him though as a director. He's a fucking great salesman.
That's why he's like Todd Howard.
Yeah.
Except for Todd Howard always tells the truth,
and has
what
never
he says
ever failed
is
to deliver
the
on a
truth.
promise.
Do you want this higher up, by the way?
Yeah, I have to like.
Yeah, it's just
be
like this. Like, grab that.
dude.
Yeah. So with what I'm talking about with Yoda is Luke is crying about the tree
Now I
and
can take up my full size.
he's crying about the tree and the ancient texts of the Jedi and all that shit. And in the movie, Yoda says something like, you are still that idiot, stupid, hopeful boy looking at the sunset, and you refuse to see what's in front of you. And thanks
Nor
Siri.
do I, Siri. Nor do I.
What Yoda should have said in that moment is that, Luke, where is that young, hopeful boy who was looking at the sunset? You're only seeing the item in front of you. You're only seeing that the world is in a hurt place. You're only seeing that Rey is an inexperienced, like, kind of head in the clouds girl. Where's the guy who used to see beyond that? Who used to see the hope and that you're looking at the sunset. Yeah. You're looking at that thing that's unattainable and you want to grab it. That's the speech Yoda should give. It's not like, hey man, look at what's in front of you, man. Like you're just being like too. You're being too dreamy. Like, that's not what Luke is about.
Yeah.
And if you did that one line of dialogue...
Luke's
and it's a nice reversal of what he says in Empire.
Yeah.
Wow, I haven't heard that before. That is
because
good.
Because that's an Adrian Noah original, baby.
Baby.
But if you...
That's why you're the best.
Thanks, baby.
AN, baby!
Yeah, but if you have that line in the film, it completely changes Luke's mentality in the film, and B, Yoda's understanding of the Force. because by the point in episode 5, Yoda's just an old curmudgeon who saw all his friends die.
Yeah, it's a good opportunity for Yoda to grow
Yoda
as a
has
character.
you could say that Yoda is now one with the Force, and he's learned that like there's bigger stuff going on, and it's not just about me getting a vendetta against my enemy. It's also about, life going on and fostering a new generation.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe I was a little clouded in my own ways too. That's a good way to progress the series, but instead we get like, hey, Luke, stop being so hopeful, you little fucker. Just like accept what things are. And that's kind of like, you're talking that the theme as stated in the film is like, failure is good if you learn from it. But the theme that's portrayed in the film is just accept the status quo and don't question it and do exactly what everybody tells you because that's the right thing to do. And even if it isn't. And I don't know, like coming from a place where Star Wars is I believe it's supposed to be a fairy tale and something for kids to enjoy. And it shouldn't be elevated into some like dark, dingy adult thing. It should just be like a moral story.
I disagree with that. I mean, I think like
it's
Andor.
Andor
That's
does
like a
Andor
spin-off,
does
though.
like a serviceable job of it, but it's
Right,
not.
if you're talking about the main.
Yeah, the main saga it's a fairy tale, and
It's-
if you're
it's-
gonna do that, then telling a story where it's like
It can be dark.
you
but
know you gotta follow the rules, otherwise
Otherwise, everyone
Yeah.
who serves you will die.
everyone you
Everyone
love
who's
is
loyal
gonna
to
die
will
if you
be
don't
killed.
follow the rules that are put in. Like, and there's not even an interesting discussion within the film about like how are we any different than the Empire at this point?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if our whole thing is like, oh yeah, just do what you're told. Like, what makes Poe different than a stormtrooper, essentially? So I don't know. There's not even. There's interesting themes to be had in the film that aren't even addressed. That's my central
I
problem.
got another question for you. Thoughts on BB-8?
Really cute.
I thought it was funny the scene where he's like
Puts his thumb
there's
up.
like sparks coming out of the thing, and he's like his little probe keeps splitting into more things.
Yeah.
Can we talk about the humor?
Yeah. The first movie had some great.
The first movie
fir-
had great humor.
The reason the first movie had great humor is because it didn't have any jokes.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was funny without having jokes.
Well, it's Ghostbusters. It rules. Where it's characters saying things that are humorous,
Seeing that in the theater on
not
opening
to
night,
an audience, but to them in the film.
dude. Seeing that in theaters on opening night when BB-8 his like little lighter thumbs
Yeah.
up thing pops out was the pop of laughter in the audience.
Well, because
was amazing.
also there was a lot of great pacing
Yeah.
in that scene
Yeah.
where it's getting worse and worse and worse, and she looks to him
Did
for.
that die?
I think so. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
because it's got batteries.
Yeah.
It's getting worse, and then he just goes boop
Yeah.
right at the moment to cut
Yeah,
the tension.
yeah.
And it's well done, but it's not jokey and it's not hacky.
Yeah.
Or I think the funniest movement from that movie was Kylo's throwing his temper tantrum. He's slashing everything with his lightsaber,
You just-
and then there's two guys walk, and then they see it, and without saying anything, there's no joke.
They don't even
There's
look
no
at each
beat.
other. They just-
Right? There's nothing. They just turn around and walk the other way. It's perfect.
Yeah.
Whereas, in 8, you get into like Marvel style humor where every scene is punctuated with a quip
Everybody's
to break
snippy.
the tension.
Marvel, Disney, kind of like just lowbrow.
Right, which works in
Bullshit.
like a comic book hero
Yeah.
movie
It
where
barely works in those movies.
Yeah, but nobody really expects
Yeah.
like you just go to those movies to just a roller coaster, turn your brain off and have fun.
Like Han Solo's funny as hell in the original movies, without being jokey.
It's his attitude. And
It's because he
the way it's like you're with him on the way he
there's
replies
no,
to questions.
there's no
or something.
jokes,
Yeah.
right?
dude, don't.
You
what
you
do
came in that thing, you're braver than I thought.
Yeah.
Right? It's not like a joke. That's just what characters are like. Or
Yeah.
My
Dog
favorite
problems.
line, I care.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's that from?
That's
I don't remember any of those.
Leia and
Five.
Luke in the cockpit of the Millennium Falcon.
Okay.
Leia's like, I don't think Han Solo cares about anything, and Luke is like,
I
I care.
Yeah.
Because he's a whiny kid
He's a little
who's
boy
like
trying to
with
be-
this like hot girl
Yeah.
who he's never seen before, and he's like trying to be all like macho, but
Yeah.
he's not. He's like a irrelevant farmer.
Yeah.
That's such
It's the context that
Yeah.
makes it
And
funny.
that's
It's
such
not
a-
funny because Luke is like, "Oh, you're right. He's a stupid idiot."
It's not
Am
a,
I right?
It's not like a Michael
Hey.
Cera moment where he's like he digresses too much. It's
Mm-hmm.
just he's trying, and that's also such like an image of who Luke is. Han can be the broody asshole.
Yeah.
Because that's where that guy came from. Luke is like just a hopeful, aw shucksy dude. And him saying stuff like that is like, it's just cute. It's what he's supposed to do.
So back to 8. We almost finished on it, but I'm trying to think of. I said what I liked.
What are the parts of 8 that were supposed to be funny? Because 8, I think, was the least funny Star Wars movie of all of them.
Well, I mean, they had the joke at the beginning where with the
I would say 8 is
Yo
objectively
Mama,
the Yo Mama
prank
thing.
Call, please hold.
Which is just so bizarre.
Why is that in there?
And like almost uncomfortable.
Yes. Everything with Benicio del Toro's played for laughs, and it's really not successful.
I'd say 8 is the worst of the 3, but it doesn't slot into. It feels like the least connected, so it doesn't count as being.
It's a side story.
You can't think of it as part of those 3 movies.
I guess Luke's "Where are you from?" Oh, I'm from nowhere. Oh, nobody's from nowhere. I'm from Jakku. Oh, that is nowhere. Was like, I don't know. It was the funniest moment in this movie. It wasn't really funny, but it didn't fall flat. It was that made sense.
It's one line away from being a Star Wars line.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That sort of worked.
If instead of like, oh, that is nowhere, it was like a look or a beat or something. Instead of a line of dialogue, I think that's more Star Warsy.
But then you wouldn't have gotten it because everything needs to be spelled out to the audience, otherwise you won't get it.
Or you could say nobody's from nowhere, and she thinks about it for a second and says, I'm from Jakku, and it's played completely sincerely, and it serves as foreshadowing for when Kylo Ren informs her that she is nobody. That's a stronger moment. And instead of playing it for laughs.
Right. The other thing is that you need to like tell Rian Johnson that making characters be more emotional does not make a scene more emotional.
Yeah.
Because every conversation between Luke and Rey, it feels like one of them is about to just burst into tears.
Well, what about
and it's completely unjustified the whole time.
Right. It doesn't make there's no plot reason.
There's no tension.
Why the characters should be so just over the top, like verge of tears, yelling at each other for every line of dialogue.
What about the new characters that he introduced? Was it Rose and
Tico?
Yeah, and the other one. They had the same thing.
Poe or not Poe? Whatever Benicio del Toro's character was.
I mean, those characters I think were the worst offenders.
My favorite line in the entire movie, actually the funniest line, is when when Benicio del Toro looks straight down camera and says, "Give me the fucking keys, you fucking cocksucker." That's the best line in the movie. Yeah, but that was a nothing character too. I really can't think of any other really big things. What a waste of Benicio del Toro. What a waste of Laura Dern.
Dude, every actor. What a waste of Leia. What a waste. Yeah. Every actor in the movie was just totally wasted.
Yeah, it's so easy to forget Laura Dern is a very talented actress.
She's
phenomenal.
One of the best of her generation. Like,
yeah, it's just so weird.
How can you take Dr. Ellie Sattler and make her a bad character?
Not just that.
And then she has the stupidest moment of the movie where they go to light speed. Now, ordinarily, I'm the guy that's going to say, the technology just does whatever it needs to do for the plot to work. But it still has to be consistent because otherwise there's no stakes, right? Yeah. If anybody can do anything, then you can't believe that you're in an actual universe with rules.
Yeah.
So having her fly the ship at light speed to destroy the whole fleet, it unwinds all of Star Wars because why didn't they do that to get past the blockade on Naboo in episode 1? Yeah. Why didn't they do that to escape from Hoth?
Why didn't they do that
Why didn't they do it 5 hours ago?
Why don't they just have dummy ships with droids on them to trigger that?
Yeah.
Right. Why did she even need to do that? Yeah. Right. Why did she have to risk her life? And the other thing of the movie is
it did look cool.
Rose's whole it did look good.
Yeah.
Rose's whole
speech.
Character arc. No, it's not her whole speech. Her whole character in the movie is so that you learn that it's not about sacrificing yourself to save the day. It's about family and it's about love. That's what Star Wars is.
Yeah.
You become the Star Wars when you love.
The real Star Wars was the friends we made along the way.
The real Star Wars is the love you have for Star Wars.
Well,
but that flies in the face of Laura Dern, who 20 minutes ago did that thing, and it was played as she did do the right thing.
Well, I mean,
But
also-
when Finn does it, it would have made technological sense within the movie,
And also
and
it
he
would
would
have
have
saved
actually
so
been
many
saving people.
Yeah.
But he's not allowed to sacrifice
well, no,
himself.
because she said we don't sacrifice ourselves to kill the things we hate. We do it to save the ones we love, implying that there was no one he loves behind that door, and that he was motivated entirely out of hatred.
Yeah, I
which
think
is not what that was. It was a
like
last ditch
the
effort, and he would have
linchpin
saved
of-
everybody, and Luke wouldn't have died.
Yeah. That was like the linchpin of like every other bad thing in this movie is connected to that one scene of Laura Dern going light speed to
Yeah.
destroy everything.
Well, I mean, if you wanted to talk about like failure and learning from it as a last ditch effort, I mean, as beautiful as the scene was, in terms of subverting expectations, you ramp that to be like, oh shit, something's really gonna drop, something's gonna happen, and her ship just like splatters like a bug on a window. Like that would have been kind of. I don't think it would have been a great scene, but at least it would have been like, oh, you guys are really fucked now. You just did a Hail Mary and it did not work.
I'm trying to think about the physics of it, whether that ship that's accelerating light speed would survive, or the one that's stationary in space. They would both just have the same amount of damage to each other. Right?
There's a whole scene where in episode 7, when they're getting in the Millennium Falcon for the first time, escaping that junker ship, right? Where the doors haven't opened, the blast shield doors haven't opened yet, all the way, and they're like, we have to time this right because we're gonna get boarded. But if we do it right at the time, we can get out as early as possible. Now, they don't care about anybody on that ship, and they don't care about the ship itself. If light speed was just an instant, like, breakthrough barriers maneuver, you should, hypothetically, just be able to go through that door and fuck everybody who's on that ship, you know? I don't necessarily think that the...
And then they have to do that throwaway line in episode 9. It's like, oh, hey, why don't we just do that thing again? And then someone says, oh, we can't because they're expecting it this time. And because they know that we're going to do that. So we can't do it because we already did it once and it only works
literally
that one time.
the speed of light.
There's just this throwaway line where they don't explain why it worked then and couldn't work now, but they know that they have to address it because otherwise the audience will ask.
Every
so they have
torpedo-
the movie ask, but they don't answer it.
Yeah.
They just say, "Oh, we can't because reasons."
The teraflops aren't gigahabbed.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, that's a real thing. But
Yeah, right. No, but the movie has so many low points and not enough high points to justify it.
the whole thing really comes down to just you're watching it and you're confused. You're like, what the fuck's going on? Like,
I wasn't confused for a second.
No, in terms of the plot, it's simple to follow, but it's confusing
like,
in terms
why did
of
they
like,
make those
what the fuck?
choices?
Yeah.
I think part of the problem I have with it is that the movie insists that it's smarter than it actually is.
It's every Rian Johnson movie ever made.
It's not even.
I like Looper.
Looper's
There,
great.
I
I
said
I did not like
Looper a lot.
Looper. I liked.
Even though the premise makes no sense, I like Looper.
Yeah, it's fun.
I didn't like Looper because I hated my main thing that really. I didn't like it that much, but the thing that really
I was gonna say
irritated me.
something stupid.
Why is the time machine a fucking washing machine? It looks like a washing machine.
It's because they're criminals. They have
Yeah.
to do everything covertly, right? I
Yeah.
thought that was pretty obvious. They like
Dude, the time machine in
They're like
Primer
the
is
mafia.
literally a paper box. Like it's
whoa,
not.
whoa, whoa!
I'm just saying,
You take that.
the mechanics
don't
of
put
time
those
travel
two
are-
movies in the same sentence.
Oh yeah,
okay?
no, the time travel machine looks different in this movie.
we're gonna take a break from Star Wars to explain the entire plot of Primer.
I remember my physics professor put that on in high school.
God, I
That's
love
when I
that
first watched it. It was great.
That-
Also, it's a good show because it's only like how long is that movie?
It's like
An hour
90
and-
minutes.
It's way less. It's like an hour and 10 minutes or something like
It's
that.
still like the standout time travel movie.
Oh yeah. It's great. Made for 14 grand, I think.
Yeah, and
right?
imagine fucking 250 million gets poured into Tenet.
Did you see Tenet?
Why would I have seen Tenet?
I don't know.
It's
I'm not a movie guy like you guys.
imagine
So you
if,
say that, but you've had pretty good like takes so far on Star Wars.
Well, I am a Star Wars guy.
yeah, he's
okay.
a Star Wars guy.
What about? We were talking. I think it was
We should
your-
move on to episode 9 though.
We should, but before that, you don't like Christopher Nolan movies,
I
For the most
like
part.
a couple of them.
but you're not a huge fan.
I think
But
I think he's
even
overrated.
you are really excited for Oppenheimer, right?
I'm excited to be disappointed by Oppenheimer.
I'm so excited for Oppenheimer.
I think
it
that
looks so good.
There's so much going for it, and I really want Nolan to stick the landing this time.
Yeah.
But his last 5 movies have kind of just shit the bed.
I didn't think that they shit the bed necessarily, but I did think that they weren't what people are expecting. I don't think Dunkirk's a bad movie. I think Dunkirk's a movie that stands on its own because it's not really a movie. It's more like it's an amusement park. It's like one of those.
So it's not a movie.
It's a virtual reality ride that you get on and then you experience something and then you get off at the other end.
Sounds fucking terrible.
No,
anyway,
I mean,
so episode 9.
Okay. Episode 9 is the movie where they ran out of budget for VFX, so they decided to, for every VFX shot in the movie, just clone the same thing and make it bigger and smaller in different directions, and then just copy and paste that basically on the background.
Yeah.
That every fucking VFX shot in that movie was that. It was so bad. The fucking Star Destroyers in the sky above the planet.
Yeah.
The Ray in that stupid mirror world that she went into.
No, that was
8.
That was 8.
Jesus Christ.
Oh my
He's
God.
so stupid, bro.
I can't believe we let him on.
They're just one big horrible movie
Doesn't
in my
even
mind.
know the plot of the movies that we're talking about.
To be fair, we're talking about episode 9, and there is objectively no plot in that movie.
Yeah,
We
episode
gotta-
9,
Was 9
they,
the one
they
where-
swing too far in the other direction. They go from the writer-director.
Who was it, JJ, that came back and did it?
Right, JJ
Yeah.
comes back and directs,
Tries
but
to
you really
retcon.
get the feeling that the movie was written by
A dude.
everyone involved.
Yeah.
Like everyone
Yeah.
involved. Anthony Daniels.
That's because it was.
Daisy Ridley. They all just got together and on Google Docs and just shat the whole thing out and said, "Fuck it, let's go."
Anthony
ChatGPT
Daniels
4.
especially.
Right,
Well-
Star Wars episode 9, based on this.
Based on what you think Reddit would like to
Yeah.
see in their Star Wars movie, and include everything Reddit wants to have.
Yeah, the best part and worst part for you guys, if you can even remember what's in it.
The best part for me, because it was hilarious, was, and I've seen so many breakdowns of it, was the fucking horrible fight choreography, especially in the throne room, where
Yeah,
like most of there's only 8 characters, maybe,
yeah.
and at
They're all
least
kind
2
of
or
like
3
intentionally missing each other.
swinging in the background, like just doing their own thing, and then just what do we do? Fuck it.
I think that was also 8.
No,
The throne room thing was 9, I think. When
No, throne room was 8.
was that
Yeah,
8?
it's
No, that's right. Yeah, it makes
That was
sense.
the scene that I said was my favorite scene in 8.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact,
Ah,
when
well.
we were talking about that.
I'm trying to.
Bernard, best and worst moments of 9.
The
one of each.
acting,
So what
there's no moment.
The
Like
fuck
the whole
happened in 9 then?
9 didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
I don't know. Lando looked like he was happy to be there. That was cool.
Oh my God! I didn't even remember that. Okay, can I do my best and
It's like
worst moment?
this senile old man flying the Millennium Falcon. Yeah, man, this is what Star Wars is all about, baby. Boom, boom, boom.
I totally forgot.
He says that in the movie.
I totally forgot. My worst moment was going to be the Chewbacca death fake out. That was going to be the worst because, everybody was standing at the exact angle where the ship was eclipsing the other ship of the exact size.
That's such a
and
cheap
shape.
move, dude. You can't kill the dog.
But the actual worst part of the movie is the implication that the 2 black characters are related.
What, did they do that? I don't remember that at all.
I don't remember that either.
The
That's
black
so
girl
dumb.
riding the horse at the end, she has a talk with not Lando. She has a talk with Finn in the middle of the movie. Yeah, I didn't know my parents either. My dad left when I was really young. And then at the end of the movie, she sits down next to Lando and puts her hand on his and gives him a look, and he gives her a look. And there's 3 black characters in the movie. You put 2 of them in a kind of a relationship, and then the third one is now going to be the dad and father-in-law. Why would you make that the dynamic? Why Lando has to be related to one of the other 2 black
Dude,
people?
I might remember.
Well,
this
that's what
movie the
Star Wars
least.
is all about.
It's about family.
It's about
It's about
family.
family.
It's about Skywalkers, Palpatines, and Calrissians.
And incest, apparently.
Yeah, the best.
Incest. The whole the original trilogy is about incest.
No, it's not. It's
kind
not.
of.
Oh, I thought we were about the sequel trilogy. I'm like, dude, you really are not watching the same movies as us, man.
No, the.
I think I might have only watched 9 once.
the best.
And 8 and 9. I
You're not
only
missing
watched
anything,
once, yeah.
really. But
I think I watched them when they came out in the theaters.
I'm tied for best moment in 8. There's 2 moments. One is Palpatine powering up.
You mean 9?
9, yeah. Palpatine powering up all the Star Destroyers in the sky by shooting lightning out of his hands and screaming, mostly because Ian McDiarmid is so good at chewing scenery as Palpatine.
Yeah,
The acting, man, that's
Just going...
that's the only good thing.
You can't fault it.
It's
You can't
fucking
fault it.
hilarious.
He's given dog shit to work with.
He's great, dude.
And he's like, I'm dealing with it. Yeah.
He's having a great time.
I mean,
But-
dude, even to be quite honest, even in the original trilogy, I bet that, I mean, apparently the whole, especially in the first movie, the whole crew just laughed at George Lucas.
Yeah, they were having a great time.
Yeah, because they didn't respect him.
Yeah,
at all.
the second other only really good moment of Episode 9 for me is at the end when they're fighting the Knights of Ren in Palpatine's little underground dungeon, right? And Kylo Ren magically apparates a lightsaber behind him for some fucking reason, right? He's got his hands like tied behind his back, and then he pulls out the lightsaber and it's Luke's lightsaber. And
He learned that in prison.
but the best part of the movie is Kylo Ren not being a little emo sad boy for a minute and actually having fun as a character.
Yeah.
Because he turns on the lightsaber and the two guys who are attacking him like step back and he kind of does like one of these. And it really feels like just Harrison Ford channeling himself through Adam Driver. And that one little like...
It's about family.
But that one little like look and shrug feels like I wish we had that character for 3 movies, because that character is a fun character to play with.
But it feels earned that he arrived at that by being an emo sad boy.
Yeah,
And
but
like a angry white man.
it just sucks that he was an emo, angry white man, sad boy incel for 2 movies where his behavior there was almost completely unjustified. Like, he was the best part of those movies, but he was not...
I'm just trying to stay positive, man.
About Episode 9, bro?
We're talking about the parts we liked. You said you said this is the part that I like.
I genuinely
Yeah.
can't really remember any part.
The other good part is, I mean, it's really, really dumb, but this is like... It's good in the way that The Room is good or Rocky Horror is good, where it's like, oh yeah, this thing that we got is an ancient Sith dagger, and it'll lead us to where we need.
Oh my God,
and
I forgot
it
about
lines
that.
up with the wreckage of the Death Star
Jesus.
that landed there, like what, maybe 10 years ago.
That was
on
the
this other planet
stupidest
that's so
thing.
far away from where the Death Star exploded.
God damn it,
Yeah.
I totally forgot about that stupid fucking scene.
Yeah, a lot of the movie just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it doesn't gel. It doesn't gel.
Are you kidding me? We'll line it up to the horizon.
Like having Death Star wreckage when you saw the whole thing explode in a fireball.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, whatever.
I mean-
fine. But then the wreckage is somewhere else. It's not
On Endor.
It's some other planet, and then
It's not even on another moon of Endor.
What's even more unjustifiable about that is that they didn't have any reason for there to be a Sith dagger at all. They could have just not had that.
Yeah.
And then
It was a total plot contrivance just for things to happen.
it would've been-
but the movie already had too much in it.
They could have just found a chip. This is the map. That would have
Yeah.
been so much better.
No,
than-
but they needed something to add time to the movie. It wasn't a narrative convenience that they had that. It was literally like the movie we wrote is only 60 minutes long, and we need this to be two
you
hours
imagine
30.
being the group of people that they must have read that, and then you hear it again in a reading, in the script reading, and you're like, oh, okay, we're gonna give this benefit of that. This is gonna look great visually, and then
You're like the PA running coffee, and you're not allowed to say anything. You're just hearing all this bullshit, and you're like, what? Dude, this movie's gonna fucking suck.
then there's the meeting with the prop master and the art director. Like, what's this knife gonna look like?
Right.
Well,
Well,
yeah.
it's an ancient Sith dagger, and it has to line up like the Staff of Ra in Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
But it lines up to something that's new.
Yeah,
It's not just new, but like really new.
it needs to look like a bluff.
Like
Yeah,
I mean, imagine if the Staff of Ra lined up with the I don't know,
the shape of a fucking jeep in the background.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Something fucking
Yeah.
just the shape of a Jeep that crashed on Mulholland 6 days ago.
yeah,
you know, Like,
yeah. Into a lamppost.
Yeah. it just doesn't make any sense. Why would? And they had a whole narrative, like a subplot of C-3PO having to be the hero and sacrifice himself to read the ancient Sith inscription on this dagger.
Right. Well, that was like Anthony Daniels wanted to have a moment where he
is the
does
hero.
something heroic, and he never did. And they're like, because episode 9 was written by everyone involved. It's like Anthony Daniels says,
Who wrote the dagger?
hey, I made some edits to the script, by the way. And they're like, oh, that's fine. We trust you, Tony. We're not going to review that. And then it's, he
Just one big
sacrifices
Google
himself.
Doc. That,
Yeah, it's just a big Google Doc that everyone involved has access to. That's the script.
yeah.
There's no proofreading.
Lines have changed today. That's weird.
Right. Yeah. Tony has his owner access to the document.
Where did
right?
this scene come from?
He's C-3PO, man. Of course he is. He has owner
It's
access.
just there's so many better ways to make 3PO the hero of the movie.
Who wrote the dagger bit then?
Right. So yeah, and then he that whole scene, man, is like, I just want to remember my friends one last time.
To a room of people he's just
room
met.
of people he met like 2 days ago, and has no reason to like.
Yeah.
And then, but then they don't even keep it serious because that scene is played for laughs later on.
Yeah. R2 is also like conspicuously absent from the entire trilogy.
Yeah, R2 was the only one that had the common sense
Which sucks because
back
R2
out.
is supposed to be the like unifying factor between all of the Star Wars stuff.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be R2 and 3PO are like there the whole time.
Right. 3PO has his memory wiped at the end of 3.
Yeah.
But R2 is like, the
He's-
connecting tissue through the whole.
I mean, there was a Lucas interview where it's like where his concept was that the Star Wars saga was being discovered from a far future group, and they were basically just looking through R2's logs. And
that's really cool.
That's like his concept of why there's
Why R2's
episodes
always there.
and why it's a long time ago. R2 was there for everything.
Yeah.
And
That's
in
pretty
the-
cool.
In the
Yeah.
sequels, it's like just he was asleep for the first one. He was chilling in the Millennium Falcon for the second one, not doing anything.
Those concepts.
And in the third one, he just did he do anything in 9?
It's almost like those restrictions that
he was there.
that writers put on movies like that force better ideas from having to think more deeply, I guess, about whatever they're writing, whatever they're creating, because the new 3 movies are basically, they're just totally unrestricted. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah, it's sandbox.
And it's
the strange thing about the production of that movie. I mean, they had a different script, and episode 8 didn't do well, so they trashed the original that was supposed to be done
actually
by
that
the
was
Jurassic
because
World
everyone's
guy.
a bigot. And
No, it was supposed to be done by the Jurassic World guy, and they said no, we're going to trash that and give it back to J.J. Abrams.
Trevorrow?
Colin Trevorrow, yeah.
that wasn't a good movie either.
And
so.
But the
That was a
script,
good- probably a-
so the script for that leaked, and I wouldn't say it's good, but at least it has a solid narrative structure, where this is just like Fugazi bullshit. The script writer for this,
I'm honestly surprised that JJ took that back, actually.
I'm not surprised he took it back. He likes money. I like money too. Like, I don't blame him.
Man, I don't know.
But
I don't think...
this wasn't written by JJ. It was written by Chris Terrio. You may know Chris Terrio from the movie Argo, which he co-wrote with Ben Affleck and won the Academy Award for Best Screenwriting the year it
9
came
was
out.
written by him?
Not only 9, but Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice and Justice League and Star Wars Episode 9 were written by Oscar Award-winning
Wait, but
screenwriter
in what capacity, though?
Chris Terrio. Screenwritten by.
Yeah, but did he write the first one?
No,
or-
written by. Like, first build screenwriter.
But he could have written. He could have written a script that got 50%
it's not
changed.
No, it's not story by. It's not Colin Trevorrow and blank with the A&D. It's Colin, or not Colin Trevorrow. It's Chris Terrio. They're his scripts. He wrote them. I mean,
So-
maybe there was some doctoring
So Ben
going on
Affleck is
afterwards.
actually a genius screenwriter and not him.
I mean, he won the Oscar, but he wrote Episode 9 and Justice League.
Because Argo is fantastic.
Yeah, it was okay.
I loved Argo. I thought
pretty good.
Argo was great.
But yeah,
But then again, that's a real story that they can.
does the fight on
Adapt.
where Kylo and Rey are fighting on the wreckage of the Death Star looks kind of cool with the water like splashing up.
Yeah, it's almost not worth criticizing it because none of it makes sense.
It's
anyways.
such there's no at least criticizing 8. There's like a fire behind it. Like there's ways to make it better.
Yeah.
9 just didn't have a chance.
Just fizzled.
Yeah, 8. I mean, does feel like someone wanted to make a movie and had some ideas that could have played out. Unfortunately, they didn't.
Yeah.
But that makes it more engaging to talk about.
Right.
You can talk about episode 8 and say like, this worked, this didn't. I can see where they were going with this. I would have gone in a different There's no way to look at episode 9 and say like I would have gone in a different direction because it's aimless. It doesn't have direction itself.
And also, I mean, they inherited just shit to work with as well, right?
I guess
something set up in the first one.
But you could have gone places after 8 too.
Yeah, but the thing that they really fucked up was it's supposed to be a trilogy, right? But they set something up in 7, 8 scraps all of that, starts something new, and then they get the director for 7 to come back to do 9.
Right, and 9 rubber bands even further in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
Where it straight up redoes Ray's parenting. It's like, oh, people, that didn't test well with focus groups, so we're just going to give a different answer now.
Yeah. So, like, what the fuck are you supposed to do? Because it's not a cohesive narrative over those 3 movies. It's now just sort of like, 3 poorly thought out, poorly written movies crammed together and forced to be in a series together, basically.
7 at least feels like a Star Wars movie.
It feels like a movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So
7. If Star Wars didn't exist, and then 7 came out, that would have been a great first Star Wars movie.
I think that if you look at them simply, try to disconnect yourself from Star Wars altogether and look at them filmically
Just as movies, standalone movies.
7
is
feels
the only one that's
7
decent.
feels like a film.
Yeah.
8 doesn't. 8 requires you to have outside knowledge of so many characters and moments.
8's a 2-hour TV series. Sorry, a 2-hour TV episode.
Yeah, it requires you to have outside knowledge, and it doesn't develop anything. So if you were cold cocked and you never, you came out of a cave and you never heard anything about Star Wars, and the first thing you see is Episode 8, you wouldn't have any opinions on it because it wouldn't feel like anything.
Yeah.
You don't know these characters, you don't know these moments, you don't know this world. It doesn't do anything to establish it. I mean that's kind of the critique I have with the John Wick sequels too, is that it just feels like something that happens that you need to know something else to understand.
No spoilers for 4. I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, 4 is okay, but it's just Episode 8 is meh, and then Episode 9 feels like if Fast and the Furious was in space and like wasn't as endearing. Right? So filmically, I wouldn't say any of them are excellent are excellent films, but at least 7 feels like one. And if you look at the prequels, I wouldn't say any of them are excellent films, but at least they follow structure that is engaging. And there's an overall vision to it. I think that if there's a good cut of the prequels somewhere, there's no way that the best take they had was
prequels?
Yeah, there's no way that the best take in Episode 3 is Obi-Wan delivering he slaughtered younglings while covering his mouth because he was laughing during the take. They didn't just shoot one take and go on. There were 5 other takes, and for some reason in editing they chose to use that.
The best part about the first 3 movies is the behind the scenes where they're screening, I think, the first one. Have you seen this?
Jar Jar is the key to all of this.
It's George Lucas sitting in a private movie viewing room with like a 20-seat theater type thing, and he's sitting in the middle of a bunch of people, and everyone's like sitting, watching like this, and the film ends, and George Lucas goes, "Whoa, I think I might have gone too far with this."
Well, he's a funnier character than we've ever had.
Yeah.
He's the key.
Yeah.
I think that there's a good cut of the prequels somewhere.
I like the prequels.
Yeah, I know, but I think there's the narrative that's shown in the prequels is much less compelling than the narrative that is actually alluded to in the prequels, and I think there's a way to cut those movies to be stronger.
Ooh, I have an interesting thought, right? I think.
It's not.
So you know how we were having this conversation with your cousin the other day. We were talking about she was saying that she didn't like a bunch of movies that we didn't like because they were basically just old movies, and we were saying that's because you've seen movies.
Yeah, Shakespeare or Seinfeld isn't funny.
Yeah, you've seen stuff that are built on that. The original three Star Wars movies haven't yet been eclipsed, I don't think, by the next however many generations of movies that have sat on top of those and become better and better and better. You can still go. I don't think you can. I think you can.
There's a real reason why.
Why?
It's because everything that's taken that formula and built on it is cynical. They're all slightly more cynical, or very much more cynical than Star Wars, or grittier or darker. Star Wars stands out in the same way that Superman 1976 stands out. It's hopeful.
When did Blade Runner come out? 81?
Blade Runner came out
82?
I think 81.
Yeah.
Star Wars.
Same with that one.
Yeah, Star Wars.
Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings too. It's genuinely
2000,
what it is. It's not trying
Matrix,
to
1999.
It's not trying to improve on anything.
Yeah.
Lucas was taking it. Surely he was ingesting inspirations from Flash Gordon and from Kurosawa and everything.
That movie's built on plenty of other franchises.
It's standing on the shoulders of giants, but it's still very genuinely itself. It's not trying to be something else, and it's doing it very well. Plus, also, if you look back, even without looking back, sure, the special effects aren't as great as they could be if it was made today.
Yeah, of course.
But there's something charming about it. It's like going back and watching Jason and the Argonauts.
I mean,
Ray Harryhausen's art style and his stop motion.
We spoke about it before.
Still charming.
My favorite version of those movies is I remember you and I think, and probably you as well. We all used to watch them on that golden VHS 3 set,
the 94 release.
94 release, where it was like a black box of the VHS thing and the Darth Vaders. Yeah, and then so I went back and I remember watching it when I was in university again. And I didn't have those VHS box sets, and I remember it was way too sharp.
Yeah,
and it was like, oh man, I'm seeing like bottle caps glued to the walls and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I recently rewatched Last Crusade. Indiana Jones, number 3.
The weakest of the 3.
That's
movies.
Difficult, but
it goes.
There's the scene in the library where X marks the spot.
Yeah,
and because of the way that digital looks, you can actually see all of the bookshelves in the background are complete facades. It's just like the spines glued to a black backing.
Because you used to be able to take an 8mm camera.
Yeah.
And then shoot basically anything. It looked kind of cool.
Pretty okay.
Yeah, it looked kind of cool.
Yeah. Anyway, closing thoughts on the sequel trilogy.
That was my thought. Just a huge fucking disappointment. Total waste of beloved characters that should have had... It was such just a disappointing misunderstanding and lack of respect for what Star Wars was and fans loved, I think, and now you can't go back and do it again. You just can't. The actors are dead, or it's already been done, or they can't. You just can't go back, and they fucked up the one chance to do it. And it came down to honestly, probably not enough studio oversight, not enough executive producer oversight, saying, okay, no, we're gonna.
Well, there's not one person.
Say again.
There's not one person. There's no Lucas.
Lucas
didn't direct 2 out of the 3 originals.
Those movies should have been planned with reverence, and they weren't. There was zero reverence. There was zero holding something up and going, "This is what we're trying to produce." Maybe there was an inkling of that with JJ in the first movie, but then the second movie, Rian Johnson went, "Fuck all of this! I'm going to do my own thing," and it's just being stamped with the Star Wars logo. And then 8 and 9, is JJ going like, oh, well, gotta fucking round this out somehow. And JJ's not good at
he's not a closer.
Anything, yeah. So
I'm trying to think of something that I could say that hasn't already been said, by everyone on YouTube for the past 3 years.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of a testament to how a lot of billions of dollars and some of the most talented actors and filmmakers can get together and just totally shit the bed. It's really impressive.
Yeah, you're totally right. Yeah.
There's a there's an interview with Justin Roiland and Dan Harmon from 6 or 7 or 8 years ago, where they talk about why writing narratives doesn't work in the internet era. And their conclusion was that the internet is the infinite monkey theorem. And if you write a narrative that's supposed to have a twist, and you take too long to get that twist,
Someone's going to blurt it out.
somebody's going to figure it out way faster than you can get to it.
Yeah.
And they said that's why they abandoned the like narrative element of Rick and Morty for seasons 2, 3, and 4. Now, I think that they were hoping there's an old I don't know if it's a myth or a folktale or something from World War II that said it was something along the lines of like the German general said that we couldn't we never had any chance at outmaneuvering the Americans because we try to think 3 steps ahead and they haven't even got there yet.
They're just making up
as they go. So we have no way of predicting what they're going to do.
It's like playing poker with someone that doesn't know how to play poker.
Exactly. Yeah. It's beginner's luck.
Yeah.
I think that Disney, or at least Lucasfilm, was really banking on that if they didn't know what they were doing, they could kind of crowdsource what everybody else thought and outmaneuver it.
I don't think that was it.
Because there's no other reason to have a franchise that you don't plan out narratively. And I don't think it's a smart thing to do. I think that's a huge misstep.
I don't think that's the reason why. I think I don't know. I think there was there must have been a lot of hubris. There must have been
I mean, also
too big to fail. It must have been
one thing
I don't know. I don't know. It must have been.
I think it's also
it's very confusing because you have the what's the name,
Kathleen.
Yeah,
Kennedy.
who's the prodigy who is supposed to be given these
but
reins.
she's not a prodigy. I mean, people keep saying that, like, people blame her outright. People, there's a whole bunch of things that people say about Kathleen Kennedy. Kathleen Kennedy produced the shit out of Raiders of the Lost Ark and every other Lucas or Spielberg movie since then. She's an excellent producer. Mm-hmm. She's not a creative.
Yeah.
And she didn't choose to come in and take the creative role. Somebody gave her the creative role in Lucasfilm after it was bought by Disney. That was the bad choice to make.
Yeah.
The person who put her in charge is the person to blame for all of this. Because she is a fantastic motivator, money mover, manager. She's not a person who writes narratives. She's not a storyteller. She's a story maker. I think that there's a hysteria attached to her name where people try to blame her and tell her or tell the world like Kathleen Kennedy is the worst. She's fucking stupid. I don't believe that, and I don't think that's a fair assessment of it. I think she made a lot of.
She should also have enough
experience to delegate properly.
Yes, she should have enough. Not just experience, but
I mean,
ability to like remove the ego.
The one thing that confuses me about her career is that if she was put in a creative position in Lucasfilm to make the sequels, she worked with George Lucas for 30 years. She works with Spielberg still.
Yep.
Why not phone up your good buddy and collaborator and say like, hey, yo, how do I do this? Like, what am I doing here?
Can you imagine if Favreau hadn't done any other Star Wars stuff and was just brought in to...
Yeah, well, he was... Favreau and Filoni were Lucas's picks from the start.
Yeah. And they threw them out. I mean, right? That was her decision.
Well, because think again from like a purely name brand, we need to make Star Wars make money because Disney just paid $2 or $4 billion for this.
Yep.
Think of it from that perspective. J.J. Abrams is the best choice. Because he is a name brand and he can bring people into seats.
Yeah.
And he did it.
Yeah.
I mean,
he did a great job.
That
that's why I think 7 is still fairly good. I don't think it's a bad movie. And I think that if you...
I think it's a bad... Oh, yeah.
If it served the need that was present at the time when it came out.
Yeah, I agree.
And if you moved forward from there instead of trying to sidestep it, the series would have turned out very differently.
Maybe. You want to talk about the rest of the new Star Wars stuff, or you want to move on to other things?
Should we talk about Rey Palpatine? We didn't even talk about.
Oh my
that
god,
in
we didn't
episode
even
9.
address that.
Rey Palpatine?
What movie do you fucking think we're talking about, man?
I have no idea. What are you talking about?
Are you fucking you?
Rey
This has to
Palpatine
be a
you
joke.
mean
Rey is
like,
a Palpatine.
Yeah, but isn't that the new one that she's
No.
gonna be?
No. But there is a new Rey movie.
You watched episode 9, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, she.
So who was Rey's like parents?
Something to do with Palpatine? I don't really remember. She went
Right.
yeah,
that's
yeah.
why we
She's-
said Rey
Yeah,
Palpatine
yeah.
because she's
but
a
that's
Palpatine.
that's like an
But that's
absurd
'cause
thing to do.
But because they also couldn't figure out like should she be somebody, shouldn't she be somebody?
She should
well,
have
they figured it out and then unfigured it
yeah.
out and
Kind-
then wait, sorry, that was the wrong twist.
Look,
Yeah, never mind.
If I wrote episode 7 and 8, or 8 and 9,
Yeah.
if I were like, give this guy a thing, Rey would have been Kylo Ren's sister.
Yeah.
She would have been a Solo. She would have survived his school shooting because he had a change of heart before he fucking murdered her.
Yeah.
And she would have essentially been brainwashed and witness protection onto Jakku, which is why everybody in that equation knows who she is and feels guilty about her being there, including Kylo Ren.
Right.
And that's why throughout the movies he tries to bring her back into the loop, because he still is a sibling. He still is somebody who cares about her, even though at one point he may have tried to kill her because he was angry at his uncle. That would have been the most satisfying way to play her. Way more satisfying than like, oh yeah, Palpatine cloned himself and then his clone got jiggy with some slave girl.
Yeah.
And then left and died.
Yeah, I mean, her being a nobody was a good twist and could have been good. I do think your idea was better because you're right. In episode 7, people do care about her and act like she's important, even though there's no reason in episode 7 for that to be the case. And there still isn't really any reason, right? Because like they didn't know she was a Palpatine, did she?
No, there was not only was there no way for them to have known, there's no way for them to care. Those characters, Han Solo has zero interaction with Palpatine and zero familial history with Palpatine.
Yeah.
He doesn't even
Yeah.
know the guy's name. He may hear in passing at one point like Emperor Palpatine, but that's not a thing that he cares about. So why would he feel guilty about that? Maz Kanata, for all intents and purposes, is just a cantina owner who hangs out with Han Solo a lot. So that's her point of reference for that information. Fucking Kylo Ren doesn't know Palpatine's still alive and like his whole thing was that he was really severely misguided about what the Sith were. So he wouldn't have felt bad about or even known that, given the information that Rey is Palpatine's kid, he wouldn't have been like angry at her for picking up the lightsaber. He'd be like, fuck yeah, let's go, you're on my team. So retroactively it makes no sense either.
Yeah, and how was Rey in hiding again? Like, how is it possible? So, somehow Palpatine returned, right? We don't get any explanation.
Fortnite.
Right. Fortnite, cheeseburger, number 15.
Yeah.
Yeah, no explanation.
Yeah.
Somehow Palpatine's returned. But, like, why? How? So is she in hiding? Who? Like, because Luke had Obi-Wan, right? Obi-Wan put him in hiding.
Yeah.
The Owens,
Protected
Lars, the Lars homestead. They knew that he was important and he was Vader. Who knew that Rey was a Palpatine and who was protecting her?
No one, because Palpatine's son and his wife got murked after, or gunned down after they left her with Unkar Plutt.
Okay. But they never told Unkar Plutt.
They just sold Unkar Plutt the girl and said,
Okay.
take care of her. Which is, the puzzling thing about Lor San Tekka, who's played by Max von Sydow. Max von Sydow, the guy from fucking The Exorcist. He plays Lars Sontekka at the beginning of episode 7. He should have been that, like, Obi-Wan watching from afar, keeping her safe.
Right. We never find out if he was, because he does, which is fine.
Not only do we not find out if he was, he's such a footnote in the story that it's weird for him to even have existed. He could have just been any other villager. He didn't have to have... Him having history with Kylo Ren is very odd. You know?
Yeah, it makes the opening scene more dramatic, and then he dies, whatever.
Yeah, but it's... Again, it's just like... It's such a... What the fuck were you thinking moment?
Yeah. Yeah, it's not good.
Yeah, so Rey Palpatine, just hilarious blunder. Terrible choice.
Yeah, it's bad narratively, and it also doesn't make sense within the plot of the movie.
Yeah, and the previous movies, looking back, knowing that information, there's no foreshadowing, and the foreshadowing that is there doesn't support that. Which is just fucking, it's lame. Do you wish they went with the EU stories instead?
Which stories?
The original expanded universe.
But then we would know everything, right? Like,
Yeah,
it's just...
but I mean, I wish they kind of did more of a permutation of it with, like, I don't think they needed Jason, Jaina, and Anakin, but if Kylo Ren and Rey kind of played on Jason and Jaina's relationship more, I think it would have been much more interesting.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It seemed like it could have been a slam dunk, but because everyone loves Star Wars, and
it's about family. You know?
Episode 7 wasn't like smartly written or particularly
but it was
brilliant.
Fun. It was fun.
It was a fun Star Wars.
It was
movie.
what people wanted too.
Yeah, it was what people wanted.
Dude, like, I think everybody looks at the prequels with rose-tinted glasses now because the sequels were so fucking bad.
I always like the prequels because that's because I grew up.
Yeah, but
I remember going to see them in.
But you also
cinemas.
There was also a
there
widespread
never should have
thing
been
that
prequels, though.
What's
yeah.
that?
They just never should have done it because you start episode 4. I was listening to Sam Witwer.
Who?
Sam Witwer. He does a lot of the animated stuff. He's like Maul, Palpatine. He was in The Force Awakens as Starkiller. Huge Star Wars fan and does a bunch of voices.
Mm-hmm.
And he was talking about how in episode 4, it just right off the bat overloads you with information about, like, oh, there's the Jedi and
the Clone Wars existed.
And Obi-Wan was a general or something and knows this princess who is like getting captured by this robot guy
on Alderaan, which is an important planet that you never see. Yeah.
But it doesn't feel like it because the writing is so natural that you just soak it in subconsciously while you're focusing on the plot and the characters.
Because also it works on such a subconscious level. I mean, it what's his name? Lucas was a huge study. He was a scholar of, Jungian psychology and or Jungian psychology and of Campbell's and of Campbell's like hero with 1,000 faces, and he's using archetypes and very, very common ideas to build the foundation of the story, which is why none of that feels out of place or none of it feels overwhelming.
Well, to finish my point, it all you soak it all in subconsciously, and then when you make a prequel trilogy, you can't avoid bringing it out of the subconscious, even though the context for the original trilogy works better, I feel like, when it's subconscious.
Yeah.
Right, because you never really find out what the Jedi are, because they're like this old thing that there was in the Old Republic, but they're gone now. They were hunted out, and I feel like letting the audience have their own it lets the film play off the imagination of whoever's watching it, and it sort of becomes the best representation of whatever it should be.
Well, it becomes mythological. You can build from that point onwards, but going back in time, like imagine getting like a Jaws origin movie. Like Jaws is a baby shark, and he sees his mother get killed by fucking fishermen, and he swears revenge. Like it's
I only
not
found out that
something
they were-
you want to watch. That shark comes out of nowhere and it wreaks havoc and then it leaves.
So I only found out that there were sequels to Jaws today or yesterday, and I was reading about it. Isn't one of them? I think is like it's supposed to be Jaws' son comes back for revenge.
That's Jaws 2.
That's Jaws 2?
The Revenge.
Have you seen them?
Yeah.
Are they good?
Jaws 4 is fucking wild. Jaws 4, the shark has like a preternatural sense for like this one family that it's targeting.
Right.
They literally move to Florida at one point in the
The
movie,
shark-
and the shark is just like there before the plane
Just
lands.
sniffs them out.
Yeah, it's absurd. The shark is psychic. Yeah. But
So do you want to talk about the expanded universe at all or not? You want to just do the 7, 8, and 9? You want to do any comments on the TV shows, the extra movies?
it's strange that they would purposefully say we're not going to do the extended universe.
I think they explicitly
Yeah,
said
they threw out
we're
all
going
of
to
that
do
old
a
canon.
Star Wars movie every single year.
Well, no, they threw out the expanded universe and said we're not going to do that, and then made a story that was completely incoherent and
'Cause to
didn't
be
make any
quite
sense. Because
yeah.
they I'm not saying that they had to one-to-one adapt the expanded universe, but there's
They could have one-to-one
Because
adapted
there's-
the expanded universe and not lost any revenue because basically no one's read it.
Yeah.
And the people that have read it are still going to go and see the movies.
To be fair, like if you told me they were doing a Yuzon Vong movie, I would not want to fucking watch that saga.
You'd still go.
That
You'd
shit.
still watch
No,
it.
that shit. Fucking
But they're
sucked.
doing Ahsoka Tano TV show.
Yeah.
Please clap for the name you recognize,
Yeah.
fan.
I'm slightly okay with it, mostly because Ahsoka's played by Rosario Dawson, who's like an inspired casting choice for her.
Yeah, she's great.
Not just great, like she physically resembles Ahsoka.
I thought she was the voice actress. as
No,
well,
no,
right?
the
No.
voice actress is
Ashley
Ashley Eckstein.
someone.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, she's a very sweet woman, and she's also like this tall. But yeah, the Ahsoka show has her and Mary Elizabeth
Rosario
Winstead.
Dawson takes some great roles, by the way.
Yeah, she's got a great agent too.
Yeah.
She's very selective.
But I mean, she watched it. Archer.
Best role for Rosario Dawson.
I'd probably Lana in Archer.
Wrong, Clerks 2, and she's not Lana. That's Aisha Tyler.
Who the fuck am I thinking of then? Different thing.
Aisha Tyler.
All right, never mind.
Yeah, Rosario Dawson's awesome, and she looks exactly like Ahsoka. What's her name is playing? Mary Elizabeth Winstead is playing Hera Syndulla. Hera's the green Twi'lek lady from Rebels. Mary Elizabeth Winstead is Ramona Flowers from Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, which I'm very happy about because she's also an excellent actress. I don't know. I'm not against that show. I just think that TV shows are just kind of shitty and cheap right now, and I haven't really been wowed by anything. I watched the first episode of The Last of Us, which everybody was jacking off. And,
Who was jacking that off?
And wait, look out that window. Alex, open the back door.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. I just haven't been really impressed by a TV show. I think Andor was the last one for me.
I'm like 2 episodes in. We're well past, like, you can stop listening now. We're nothing funny or interesting is going to be said. We're just chatting at this point.
This is just going to be the
I have not watched
hour.
a lot of Andor so far. It seems not super interesting. Like, I don't really care. I like the Imperial Brown Nose, like, corporate guy.
Oh, he's so
cool.
good. Yeah.
He's like a good character. And then he has that like sergeant that works for him who's clearly much better at his job, even though he's like below him in the managerial hierarchy. So that's cool. But yeah, I just don't really care about that show. The only reason I'm liking it is because you are constantly telling me how good it is.
How many episodes have you got in?
3, I think.
I would say watch the next 3 episodes in one shot. Like clear out a couple hours of your time, watch that.
That's not going to happen.
We're gonna
I'll
round
watch
up
it.
We should just wrap this up then.
All right, I was going to ask you about your thoughts on AI actually, because you're in software, and
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm in software, so obviously I know about AI, right?